So we're back at this old diversion. So I've had about a month really to come back to this job. So I've had plenty of time to fix it. I just haven't had time to fix it. So the carbs, they've got new float valves and new screws on the float balls. A big once over, basically, big clean. There was a little bit of a problem with one of the sides, one of the floats, sorry. So I'll just lift the tank up slightly. So this one here, remember it had like a bolt and a nut with a bit of a bendy washer or something. So I've TIG welded that back together, and I've tested it. It doesn't leak fuel or anything like that. It's got new float ball gaskets. I've put the carbs on, throttle cables are hooked up, and the oil leak that was down here, I basically took off the left side oil line for the cooler, which runs down here and it runs into the oil filter housing and then comes off the side there. So I've basically cleaned it up and I've used that chemical metal. I'm not expecting it to work, but if it does, it'll give us a chance to get the bike running for a little bit anyway, just to make sure it runs okay. And then as far as this pipe goes, it's going to need replacing anyway, because it's absolutely on its last leg. So the hydraulic hose rubber here, the clamp is actually split. You can see there's a split there, and yeah, the rest of it's not too bad, but it's split there, so it's going to leak eventually. I just want to see if it'll run, and then there is, I think you can still buy the hoses from Yamaha still. So that's probably an option. So I just want to see it run first, and then we'll keep an eye on the oil level, because I've lost a little bit of oil in doing that repair with the oil pipe, and I've took the filter off. I'm not going to put the old one back on because the old one looks like the paint's wore off. So there's a little bit of fuel in from a bench test, so it should start, I imagine, and then we'll switch the fuel tap on and keep an eye on this oil level. So if you see me darting down here, I'm probably just checking for oil leaks. So we're on reserve at the moment. So we'll see if it starts up on without choke. I'll give it a bit of choke. I don't know if I might need to reconnect the fuel pump actually. Okay, so I'm going to go and check the fuel pumps on. It's the fuel pump going back on now. So the fuel's coming in. Right. Fortunately, the right oil pipe has started to leak now. So it was the left one that was leaking last time, and now the right one seems to have let go at the same time. Oh. So I imagine because I've had that other one out and bent it just to get access to clean it, I think I must have disturbed this one, and now this one's leaking. Let's have a quick look, see what's going on. It's pouring out of it, so it's obviously got a rupture. Yeah, it's just rusty. So let's have a look at this one, see if it's repaired. Funnily enough, this one's dry. Ah, bugger. Well, it runs nicely anyway, that's a positive. So I'm gonna have to try and, I don't know, what should I do? There's only so many times you can repair things. I mean, I'm gonna have to take both these oil lines off and replace them, I feel. That's the only option, because it's just too far gone. There's probably a way to remove the oil cooler altogether. In fact, I think you can, from the look of it. It just depends whether the threads for the oil filter, you know, are in there. When you take this whole housing off, is the oil filter going to just screw onto the new base? No, I don't think it will. So, anyway, it's running low on oil at the minute, so it's not worth the risk of running it. Or I can take the unions off and make some pipe myself. Just for reference, we're going to be replacing these oil cooler lines soon. So the plan is, I'm going to take off the bottom hose, try and get this clamp off. I think it's actually seized, and then we're going to make some hoses fit the top part of the cooler. The idea is, well, basically these cooler lines no longer available from Yamaha, so we're going to have to make some. This part up here is fine, I think it's pretty solid, so I'm going to cut this and then attach some hose to these. I think it'll be okay. The pressure won't be that high, I don't think. We'll see anyway. Right, so I've got the oil lines off. A bit tricky on the right because the bolt hits like the engine, so it's quite hard to get to. Anyway, so the plan is I'm going to remake the ends of these. My thought was I'm going to cut this off and then drill out the inside, and then braze some pipe in and try and match the original bend, so that it's, I can put some hose on. It can either put the hose on down here or bend it further up. So that's the plan. So it's there was another option. You can buy the 900 Diversion oil pipes, which are still available from Yamaha. Unfortunately, the 600 is no longer available. So the 900, I think, uses the same sort of layout. The oil cooler is slightly bigger though, so you have to watch out for that. And then once I've made up the bottom part of this oil line, I've just got to attach them back to the oil cooler lines further up. And in fact, this one, there's a nice section there that I can put a hose over and clamp it. So it would be good to use these again, but yeah, that's what the original pipe looked like. Right guys, so it's been a couple of weeks since the last clip when I was out with this bike, and in that time I've had a go at soldering or brazing these unions to a bit of pipe. So I've got some 10mm steel here, and I've been trying to solder with silver these, and each time I've done it they've just leaked, so I've sort of given up with them now. On this last one here, you can actually see that I've actually melted the bronze or brass, gotten it too hot basically. On this one, you know, it looks, in my opinion, it looks fairly decent. Obviously it's very sooty, but the solder looks like it's gone in nicely. However, it leaks, so I've just had to give up with these. I'm just not good enough at doing this sort of thing. So I've bought some other material. I bought some aluminium and made this. So this is probably another few more hours in the garage, just machining this piece and then welding this pipe on. So this is actually 10 by 1.5 aluminium, and I've just TIG welded it. There's a little bit of a squish with the pipe. I should get some proper, you know, tools for bending, but I don't have anything, so I've bent and squashed it a little bit there. It's the right angle, and because it's quite thin, it should be bendable on the day, if you know what I mean. So I've managed to make this on the lathe and drilled and made the O-ring groove. So I'm fairly confident, but obviously I've got to pressure test this, and I've also got to make another one. So I've had to make one just so that I know I can do it, basically. So this was a bit tricky to weld round. Anyway, that's the end of this video, guys. Yeah, I'm really hoping that this does the job, because there's just no other options. There's lots of second-hand pipes for these bikes on eBay and the like, but unfortunately you just can't trust them. So I think we're going to commit to this. Hopefully this works and we get this bike back on the road. Thanks for watching.